Welcome back, everybody, to the Shoot Fast podcast. I'm your host, Cody Axon, sitting down once again with Joel Park.
What's up, Internet?
Hello. So, today we are talking about a topic that was suggested by a listener that we both thought was pretty interesting, which is match etiquette. Just generally how you're supposed to act towards other competitors, how you're supposed to act at a match, and some written and unwritten rules for, being at a match and being around other people and how to interact with other human beings.
Yeah, we've already discussed that you're a misfit, so...
It can be really difficult sometimes to know how to interact with other humans, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So first off, Joel, what are some general rules for what you should be doing the day before the match when you go on walk stages, assuming it's a major match? You go the day before, a lot of other people are there. What are some things you should be doing and shouldn't be doing?
The first thing to point out is do not mess around with any of the props on the stage. Don't activate anything to check the timing on max trap, swingers. I see that I won't say fairly often. I see that once in a while at matches. I don't think it's from people being malicious. I think they just don't know any better. So it is... I don't know how you get punished if it's a DQ procedure.
It is explicitly against the rules, though.
Firing squad. I don't know how you get punished, but don't do that. Don't mess with anything.
Yeah, I think it is written in the rules, and I'm pretty sure that would be like an unsportsmanlike conduct where you could potentially be disqualified from the match. I could just be making that up. I don't really know, but
you don't want to find out at any rate.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to find out. So
and it's unsportsmanlike. So just people don't know any better, but just don't mess with any of that stuff.
Yeah, and every time I've seen people doing it, it's like a couple people who you can tell they're kind of like figuring out the lay of the land are relatively newer shooters.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's not malicious, but they'll have like a buddy go down and like reset the popper for like a swinger, and then they'll activate it, and then a swinger will come out and they'll like time out the swingers. Yeah, you can't do that. That's against the rules. So just don't.
Yeah,
and then just generally, when you're there, make sure you're there when you're supposed to be there. Like if you get there like really late at night, like right before the sun goes down, they might have already closed up, or like people are trying to go home. So just be socially aware of what's going on around you. Don't be like the only guy there, and then you go out to the gate and the gate's been locked and you're locked in. You got to like figure out who to call to leave. So
if there is a squad shooting that stage, do not just walk and mingle amongst them, walking through the stages to look at stuff.
Yeah,
if there's a squad on that stage, you stay off that. You can stand back, speculate. If they want to talk to you about it, that's cool, but go find a bay that does not have a squad shooting it, or wait until that squad's done if you need to look at that stage.
Yeah, and that's a really good point on that topic, because generally speaking, unless you're shooting on like staff day or something like that, there will already be people shooting or have already shot that day. So if you get there like middle of the afternoon, the day before you shoot, and at most matches there's going to be somebody there shooting, whether it's staff or other competitors or a combination of the two. So do not go up between shooters and go like walk on top of the person on deck's walkthrough so that you can look at the stage, or like Joel just said, when the whole squad has their 5-minute walkthrough, don't assume that you can be part of the squad's 5-minute walkthrough if you're not about to shoot. I've seen people do that, and I generally don't say anything, but I just like kind of hate everything about that person in that moment, and I wish they would just go away, because that's just not cool. So yeah, find stages that have nobody on them, and if there's an RO sitting at the back, you should usually ask them like, hey, is it okay if we walk the stage until a squad gets here? They're going to say yes, but it's just a good manners thing to
courtesy.
Yeah. All right. So now we're talking about the day of the match. When you're actually when you are that squad who's walking the stage, what are some do's and don'ts in this situation?
First thing is you should have already looked at the stage and have a pretty good layout of what everything is. So at that point, maybe you're waiting until the activator to decide on timing for something, or there might be a couple little options you had. But for the most part, you should know where stuff's at. If there's a port or a doorway where you can maybe see a majority of the targets, or like a choke point in the stage, don't stand there and just hog that. You should already have an idea of what targets are there. There might be somebody else that wasn't there the day before. You have a limited amount of time for your walkthrough, especially if you're not the first person up. Don't hog those choke points. Walk through, look at it, and then exit to the back of the stage, as Matt Hopkins would say, and keep things flowing. Don't just stand there all day and make everybody wait on you.
Yeah, that's especially true on stages where the whole stage is this choke point, because maybe it's just like a shooting box, or it's like 2 steps. Once it's your turn to step up, you get to do your air gunning, your walkthrough, whatever. But, do it and be done with it. Don't stand up there for 10 minutes while you have a whole squad behind you for a 5-minute walkthrough, and nobody else gets to look through the port or whatever it is because you're the only one standing there all day. So again, a lot of this just comes down to being a good human being and being socially conscious of others around them. But I think sometimes the crowd that goes to shooting matches, we're not always the people who have the best social skills. And
that's just, you're speaking for yourself. It is an individual sport. It's not a team sport. So everybody wants to do their best. They want to see everything. So to kind of go back to the exit to the back of the stage, hopefully that makes sense. So you're going to, if you start at position A and you're going to finish at position C, when you get to position C, walk outside the fault lines and walk around the outside of the stage. Don't walk back through the center where people are looking or getting people's way or they have to stop or what they're doing to move for you.
Yeah, I think, I see stages designed this way all the time, and I actually think it's kind of a bad stage design thing where you have a stage where you end like maybe down a hallway, like shooting through a window, and there's no way for you to get out just to turn around. So that becomes a big problem in the walkthrough where you got to like brush shoulders with somebody to get out and like squeeze past the line of your squad behind you.
Well, you check them is what I've normally seen.
Yeah, normally you try and bump them
into the wall or something.
Yeah, and then you purposely injure your competitors. But so that is something to consider also when you're designing stages, is if you know everyone's going to end in the same spot, maybe don't make it a narrow hallway where the whole squad's going to end up choked up there. So yeah, in that situation, obviously you can't exit out the back of the stage, but just be careful and try not to hurt anybody on your way out. Of course, just looking through our notes for this show, of course Joel had to put something in here about left-handed shooters. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't care about it. It's like it doesn't affect me at all. So what do you care about left-handed shooters for?
So if you have let's say it's a triangle that you're shooting in, and the right-handed shooters are going to go to the left side and move across towards the right. The left-handed dudes are going to go to the right corner and reload, moving across towards the left.
So generally they're doing it in the wrong way, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, everything that you choose not to do is obviously the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So, because you only do things the right way. But if that's a position where only one person can see it, slow down and let the lefties have a turn. Because you'll see, let's say 95% of the squad doing it one way, and there'll be one or two dudes. Yes, I'm the minority on that. Going the other way. Just slow down and let them go through because it's one dude, and then the rest 10 guys behind you can all go the same way.
That's right. So everybody should have to accommodate the one guy who's different, not he should have to, accommodate the rest of the group. So make sure, they get their own special spot in line. It's like having a fast pass at Disney World where you get to just jump ahead of everybody. That's what being a left-handed shooter is.
I should have brought you a Snickers because you're definitely not yourself right now. Actually, this is what you're normally like.
Is what Joel is saying. But no, he's right. I mean, if you see one guy, this can apply even not left-handed shooters.
Or what if they have a goofy stage plan?
Yeah, if they just have a goofy stage plan, if it's kind of a wide-open stage where there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, and everybody on the squad is clearly kind of walking at the same direction, somebody wants to walk at the other direction, rather than like just ridiculing that person for being an idiot, maybe you could just let them do their thing and walk the stage, and maybe they're smarter than everybody. Maybe that's the smartest person on the squad, and that's probably a good chance to look over at that person and think like, okay, what are they doing? Is that actually better? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. But, keeping yourself open to what other people are doing. But it definitely applies to left-handed shooters when a stage has more than one way you can run it. Generally speaking, they're going to run it the opposite of everybody else just so they can keep moving toward their strong side, because that's generally the preferred way to go, just for reasons we've talked about previously, of being able to reload while you're moving towards your strong side is a lot easier, especially for somebody who shoots production like Joel. What do you think about talking with other people on your squad, sharing stage plans?
I'm definitely all for it. I would not shove your stage plan down someone else's throat if they don't want to hear it. But especially if it's, new shooters that maybe they have questions or they look a little puzzled or they don't want to ask, you could always, if they want help, obviously be willing to help them. Even I'll get advice from guys that are way better than me. They're going to just smash me at this match. And they would still help me with, hey, I'm thinking about this taking this order, or I'm thinking about shooting this on the move, or this target looks really hard, I'm going to definitely post up here. A lot of those top shooter guys are very willing to share their information. So I think you should help guys, regardless of the skill level. It's just, it helps everyone, because there might be that one dude that's running the what you would call the left hand or the wrong way that everybody's ridiculing, and maybe he saw something that you didn't, or a position that you could eliminate. So, yeah, not that you have to have a group conversation, but I would be willing to share anything I know, because it's a shooting. You're going there to measure your shooting ability, not if you can manipulate something to outsmart everyone else.
Yeah, I've heard it said before where if you are the guy who, like, your stage plans are secret and you're going to, like, come up with your own secret stage plans and, like, not maybe purposely not walk the stage in front of other people so that people don't see what it is, and then once you shoot, you're going to unveil, like, this awesome way of doing it. That might work out for you, like, once in a while, like, where you think of a stage plan that nobody else thought of and it's way better. But if you're that guy who's not sharing with anybody, other people aren't going to share with you either, because they know that, okay, he's got some secret stage plan he doesn't want to hear from anybody else. And so your secret stage plan that you thought of, in the darkness by yourself might not be as good as what everybody else is doing, and you didn't see it. And so generally speaking, it might work out for you every once in a while, but for the most part, it's not gonna work out to your benefit. You're better off just, when you have a really good idea, you share it with everybody else, and then when other people have good ideas, they're gonna share it with you, and the world goes around like that. Everybody kind of shares information. That's just how the sport is generally played by most people.
And if you're the guy standing back there with your hands in your pockets smiling because you think that you just have the world is, for your command now, and then you are so awesome, you've got the stage plan, no one knows about it, and then you're not rehearsing that at all, you're just maybe mentally preparing it, you're not walking through the stage, that's probably not a recipe for success either, because you're not visualizing that stuff enough before you do it either. So
yeah,
it's just dumb.
Yeah, and I'll say as far as talking about stage plans with other people, that's one of my favorite parts of a match is like talking with other people about stage plans. We've talked about before how like different stage plans don't matter that much, and while I intellectually know that, emotionally, like it's like, okay, this really matters. Like figuring out if I'm going to shoot this from here or there. All those little decisions that don't really matter that much on the timer are the kind of things that I love to obsess about before I shoot. I think partially because if I obsess about those things, then it kind of takes my mind off, actually having to worry about shooting it well or whether or not it's going to go well. It gives myself something to think about that's more like process oriented, where I can, think about these little details. So if somebody asks me like, hey, what are you going to do here? I love having that conversation with people. Like I get really excited talking about different things. And a lot of times, when I shoot a match with Joel, I will like force my stage plan down his throat, like, hey, you want to hear what I'm going to do over here? It's really awesome. He's like, no, I already figured out what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, well here I'm going to tell you anyway, and then I just want to talk about it because it excites me. Like I just like talking about these things. And honestly, my experience of the handful of times that I've shot with like super squad level guys at matches, most of those people like they love talking about stages too. I remember shooting the double tap championship in like 2015, I think. I was on a squad with JJ Rakaza because, of course, he squatted before me and I followed him to his squad.
He squatted with you. He's like, oh, this Cody dude's going to be here. I hear the heat.
I did win A class that year. That was a pretty big deal.
Oh, neat.
So I purposely squatted with JJ Rakaza and he was like super nice. And when we were walking stages, like he would turn and ask like, okay, what are you doing over here? Not because I don't think he actually thought that I had a valid opinion about it, but he was just trying to like, see what other people thought, see what other people were seeing, and kind of confirm what his own ideas were. And, he was totally open with talking to other people and telling other people like, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. And then he would ask, what are you planning on doing? So, just because maybe somebody else on your squad isn't as good of a shooter as you doesn't mean that they don't also have some value to add. So, I mean, just having that general openness and talking with other competitors about stage plans is usually going to work out in your benefit. And the one time that maybe it would have benefited you to withhold information, it's not worth it to, miss out on all the other opportunities that you could have to learn from other people.
Yeah. So this is as good as time as any for a mild rant. When you go to a match, there is a chance there will be female shooters there. They did not buy a handgun and gear and come to a pistol match because they were looking to date you.
Yeah. This is a topic that I love. We just brought this up to bring this in here just before we started. But I'm friends with a handful of female competitors, and the reason why I'm not friends with them is not because I'm trying to get with them or I'm trying to date them. I just like people because they're people, and I don't view, all female competitors as potential, dating prospects. So
Yeah, this is not...
So if there's a pretty girl on your squad and she shoots, and it was like, it was like a normal run. She wasn't like, burn the whole world down. She didn't crush your whole squad on that stage. Don't like turn around and be like, oh my god, that was so awesome. Like you're the best shooter ever. If she's not actually the best shooter ever.
You know what my favorite is when they drop their magazine on the ground, they almost trip and fall, they forget a target, and they're really frustrated. They have like this bad stage, and then everyone in the whole squad walks up and like, oh, that was so awesome. That was the best shooting I've ever seen in my life. They're people. Mm-hmm. They understand what good and bad is. You could still be encouraging, but it's like no one's pasting targets because they're all following. I realize this is turning into a rant, but no one's pasting targets because they're all following this female shooter around to tell her how awesome she just did.
People like they will line up to tell like a female shooter after she screwed something up about how great it was, or like, oh, it's okay, you'll get it next time. Here's a nice test. So if you find yourself on a squad with an attractive female shooter, because let's be honest, that's what it is. It's like there's a really good-looking girl on your squad, and you just want to talk to her. If you find yourself in that situation and you want to go up and say something to her about something that happened on her run to basically maybe provide comfort or whatever, if you would say that to a male competitor, then okay, like that's fine. What I would say maybe to a male competitor as a friend of mine, be like, oh, that sucks. Like, we got a bunch of stages left, it'll be all right. That sort of thing. I'll be real frank with him like that. What I would not say is like, oh, it's okay. Like, you'll get him next time. I don't talk like that to male competitors.
I'd be creeped out if
it would be really weird. And women find that really weird when you do that. Like, women are people. They have social skills. And when you do really socially awkward things like that, they think it's weird.
Yes.
And it just makes them uncomfortable. So don't be a weirdo. Act like you've seen a woman before in your life when there's a woman on your squad. And, just talk to them like they're people. And they'll probably...
Because they are humans.
Yeah, that's how you make friends. Like, if you want to be friends with the female competitor, and just talk to them like they're a normal person. Like, if you coddle them and try and like follow them around, that's just, it's not going to work out in the way you think it's going to work out either way, and all you're going to do is isolate yourself as being some sort of weirdo.
Soccer. We could qualify for like dating also. This is turning into dating advice with Cody. Like lesson 1, how to speak to women.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's people who haven't had a lot of success with dating are the same people who are like creeping out female competitors like this. So I guess there is some validity to that of just knowing how to talk to other people, and I guess that's way too big of a topic, and that's going to be like a separate topic or a separate podcast entirely, not the Shoot Fast podcast. It's maybe just like life tips with Cody or something like that. I'll have to start that one.
Cody the matchmaker.
To get into that. All right, so back on topic of general match etiquette, not just with women. What about right before you shoot? So we're actually going through the shooting order now, and maybe 2 or 3 people have shot before you, and now it's your turn to shoot, or somebody else's turn to shoot. What are some rules in this situation?
Well, we shoot together a lot. It's good to have fun, to joke around and stuff. But right before you're getting ready to shoot, you need to quit messing around. If you're there to be serious and you want to do well. There are people that go just to socialize. I'm not knocking on those people. If you just want to socialize and hang out with your friends and have fun, that's fine. But if there's somebody there where you're that person that wants to do well and you're wanting to focus, if those guys don't get the hint, then tell them to knock it off. Because you need to not be messing around. Or I've seen people, play with other people's gear. Maybe they take a magazine out of their pouch where they don't know it's out or something dumb like that. That kind of crap needs to stop before you're up, and I would never mess with anyone else's gear. So
yeah, I agree. Like, messing with somebody else's gear is really crossing the line. We'll mess with each other, whatever, all the time, but anything that would actually like directly affect your ability to run a stage, or your performance in the match, that's like way crossing the line. I've heard of people like putting rocks in people's magazines, or like loading
around backwards.
Yeah, like loading around backwards, or like loading like another round, like putting a 38 Super round in a 9mm magazine, that sort of thing. That's not cool. Just don't do that.
It's not funny. I'd be irate if someone did that to me.
Yeah. So like, what about making fun of each other, joking around? We do that stuff all the time. How we talk on this podcast with each other is pretty much how we talk to each other all the time. Except we're probably a little bit more cruel in real life.
Yeah, for sure. At practice, I think it's fine to mess around and joke around. And if he does something that's terrible, in practice, even when we live fired whatever it was last weekend, there was one point where I did not start off so hot, and you said that was embarrassing or something to that effect. That was really terrible, and you meant it. And I was like, yeah, I agree, that was awful. When you're at a match, you already have enough pressure on you. You want to do well. People are watching you. That is not the time to be ridiculing somebody.
Yeah.
So if Cody just messes up on a stage, he has misses, no shoots, some kind of penalties, has gun problems, he can't finish the stage, whatever it is, that's not the time to be messing with him. So while he's walking around with the RO, looking at the targets, whatever, you pick up his gear, kind of give him that face like, yeah, that sucks. Or say sorry or something. Hand him his stuff and then leave him alone.
Yeah, just like what we were saying, I would just be like, yeah, that sucks, man. Or, we got more stages left to go and whatever. That sort of thing. Not like, oh, it's okay, it'll be okay.
You're going back to the female shooter talk
Exactly.
again. Crazy talk.
Yeah, so I mean, like...
And during the make ready, the same thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. While they make ready, they're not say like, well, we're going to need a bunch of white pasters up here or something like that. Don't mess with people. When they're getting ready to shoot, if they want to do well, it's not the time to be messing around.
All right, I think this is a good time, since we're talking about make ready, I think this is a good time to talk about... it is a common inside joke in our club, and this isn't uncommon. This isn't exclusive to us. People do it all over the place. But making fun of people for taking really long make readies. Joel gets a lot of crap for this.
You get a lot of hate mail. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's right in there with like the WWGM for what would GM Joel Park do, is like that Grandmaster Joel Park takes forever to make ready. It's like an inside joke.
It's another nightmare that won't go away.
In reality, I think I take just as long as you do.
You do. Nobody just picks on you, though.
But nobody makes fun of me for it.
Because you're so angry, they think you'll punch them, probably.
Yeah, so what you need to do is just be really aggressive with your fellow competitors, and so that way they're too afraid to make fun of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so generally speaking, the people who are winning matches, who are doing the best at matches, when somebody says make ready, they don't just like load their gun and put it in the holster and then they're ready to go. I mean, any top level shooter, if you watch them, I haven't seen any top level shooters who like make ready in a second, or that like they speed make ready, or if it's like an unload start stage and you really don't have to do anything to make ready, maybe it's unloaded guns in your holster. Well, when they say make ready, all you got to do is assume the start position, you're ready to go. But most good shooters in that situation are going to, draw the gun out, still maybe grab the gun a couple times. They're going to do a couple things, whatever their process is where they normally make ready, they're going to still do that same thing when it comes time on unloaded start stage.
And why do you think they do that?
Just to get, mentally prepared, maybe give them a chance to revisualize the stage and make sure that, they're 100% lined up for what they want to do.
What are you thinking about while you do that? I know we're getting off to a little bit of a tangent. But...
Yeah, this is a whole other tangent. I mean, so when I do stuff like that, I'm visualizing the stage again. I'll go between like the start position and the gun a couple times. I'll think about, what the sights are going to look like on each target. I may revisualize the entire stage beginning to end. I don't necessarily always do that. But sometimes I'll do that in that situation after make ready.
So but you're mentally preparing yourself. There's a reason you're doing it. It's not to get attention.
Yeah, and I'm either like settling down. If I'm really nervous, I'm like trying to bring my nerves down. If maybe I'm real laid back, maybe it's a local match, something like that, I'm real laid back, I'll maybe try and bring myself up of like, all right, now I really need to like get my head in the zone. I'm ready to go. Yeah. So I'm getting myself mentally to where I need to be. It's not just for attention. It's not like to make everybody watch me for a really long time. It's to try and do as well as I can on that stage. So, yeah, this is a situation where people will like to yell things at the competitor or, like you said, say, oh, we need a lot of white pasters or, that sort of thing. I'll do stuff like to mess with you on your videos. So afterwards you see it, but I won't do anything that you are aware of because I don't want to mess up the stage run that you're about to do.
Yeah, it's just rude.
Yeah, it is. What about if somebody DQs? What happens then? What do you do?
I would
Somebody who's not you.
Yeah, I would not make fun of them. I would not, it looks like you're so dumb. You could have done it this way, or why didn't you try doing this, or what were you thinking? It really sucks. At the time, they're going through a lot. Collect their magazines, give them back their phone if you're videoing, whatever. Whenever they're done with the RO, they're done talking. You're not going to go interrupt. Whenever they're done talking with whatever range official they need to, and they're done, walk up, kind of give them the look like, yeah, that sucks. Or you'll say, sorry that happened, or whatever. You hand them their stuff, and that's it. You leave them alone. Yeah. If you have video of them DQing, do not be posting that somewhere unless they want you to. But that's something that sucks. Not everyone. So I personally should not say this, knock on wood, but I have not ever DQ'd, which I'm really fortunate. I try to be careful. I hope I don't ever. But, somebody that does happen to at that time, that's a lot for them to go through. Maybe it's their first DQ, or maybe it's a major match, something they really care about. So there's no reason to, go poke the bear.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's true of, like, a DQ, or if you have, like, a really bad stage, which we kind of talked about a little bit already. But for me, like, if I have a bad stage, and I know when I have a bad stage, I am very, very aware of when things are going bad, when things aren't going well. That is the time, like, do not talk to me, because you're not going to get a happy response. Like, I love, in real life and around my friends and stuff, I joke around a lot. Like, I'm a real goofy guy. But if you try and be goofy with me right after I screw up a stage really bad, I'm not going to be happy with you. We're not going to be friends in that moment, and I'm going to walk away and not want to talk to you. If I DQ and somebody try to do that, like, if I DQ'd on a stage now, like, let's say if I DQ'd at a major match, which, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. But if that did happen, I would probably just walk away and try not to talk to anybody and hide my face for a while, because I would, one, be embarrassed about it, and two, be really upset that, I went through all the effort to go to the match, was hoping to do well, and then instead I ended up DQing. So, yeah, definitely when somebody DQs, that is not the time to, like, be buddy-buddy and try and, joke around with them or anything like that. Same thing applies if they really screw up a stage. A lot of times you're going to have the same emotions in either situation. It just might be worse when you DQ. So don't take that as a chance to, like you said, try and poke the bear. It's not going to be fun for anybody.
Yeah, if they step off the line, they go to unload their magazines or their range bag. Maybe they had gun problems. They're going to the safe area to look at their gun to see what happened. It's probably a 1911 more than likely if they had gun problems. Just kidding. But that's another time not to go. Unless they want help, or maybe you have insight as to what happened. Just leave that person alone. Let them refill their magazines alone. When they want to talk to you, they'll come back to the group.
What if your friend is crying in the safe area because their gun broke in the middle of the stage?
Probably another 1911 shooter. Then I guess you could go be nice and tell them that's okay. We'll get you a Tanfolio stock 2 and things will be okay.
All right. And then what about, so after you shoot, let's say it's not one of these dire situations, just a normal stage, all of us have, little things that go wrong on every stage, like we talked about before. I mean, I never finished stage. I'm like, yep, that was awesome. It's awesome. Like, everything's great. So I go and walk around with the RO. I usually have a little bit of nervousness of, like, maybe something popped up that I wasn't aware of. What do you do in that situation where the RO's going around scoring the targets?
Pick up their stuff and then just wait for them to come to you.
Yeah. I mean, so this also applies from the competitor, not just the squad perspective. So after you shoot a stage, generally what is expected and what you should be doing is you walk around with the ROs while they score the targets. So you follow, generally it's going to be the RO who's holding the timer. That's the person who should be going around and calling out hits. So you follow that person around and you watch them call out hits. Usually I don't have any input on any of that. Occasionally they'll call something where it's like, hey, can I get an overlay on that? Where it's like a perfect 40 caliber hole and be like, okay, I think there's 2 shots in there.
On a swinger at 20 yards.
Exactly. No, but if there's like one that's on the edge and I'm pretty sure that's on, maybe it's a delta and they call it a mic, I'm not going to, if I know it's a mic, I'm not going to call for an overlay to try and pull one over on them to see, maybe they'll give it to me. But if it's one where I'm pretty sure, I've had that happen before where a guy called a mic and I'm like, if I was the RO, I would have called that a hit. So I'll call, like, hey, can you overlay that? And then if they don't agree with me and they still say, it's still a mic or it's whatever I'm looking for and they don't give it, that's not the time to, throw a fit and stomp your feet. You just accept it, move on. Unless you're absolutely certain, and maybe it's a make or break situation, not like a difference between a Charlie and an Alpha, but maybe it is the difference between giving you a no-shoot and not giving you a no-shoot. Just so you know, at a major match, the next procedure would be if you don't agree with the RO's call and you're certain that you're right, then you ask them to call the range master, and in that case, normally they would pull the target and set it aside and replace the target with a new one on the stage, and that way the range master can come, and the range master will be the one who'll make the final decision on that. Usually the range master is going to side with the RO, so unless you're absolutely certain that you're right and the RO is wrong, you probably don't want to do that. And like I said, you probably don't want to do that unless it's a major make or break thing for your match. But there are some situations where you might want to do that. So if you weren't aware, that's what the rule is in that situation.
What about popper calibration? What would you, if you hit a popper, you have a good hit,
we're going down the rabbit hole now.
I'm not debating if getting screwed by poppers is a real thing or not. We're not debating that. How would you handle that situation?
That's not a debatable thing.
It's a real thing, and it happens to everyone. So you go through the stage, you call the shot good, the hits on the popper. Mm-hmm. How would you handle that? Because just to lead you a little bit, the RO is not going to ask you, hey, I think you have a good hit. Would you like me to call for calibration?
Yeah.
The RO is not going to say that.
Yeah, that's just another rules explanation for people. You do have to call for calibration. So you as the competitor have to say, I would like a calibration on that popper. And so you are required by rule to have actually hit the popper somewhere to call for popper calibration. So they have to be able to look at the popper and see, that there's some paint nicked off somewhere that you did hit it. It doesn't have to be in the calibration zone, but if you hit it somewhere, you can call for calibration.
If you are not the competitor and you're just a spectator, don't walk up, get very close to the popper, because if anyone touches that or tampers with it, that's an issue. So you can look at the popper by being feet away. You don't need to have it 2 inches from your face while you're examining it. Yeah. So stay back, take a look. More than likely, the range officer will tell everyone to clear the range or pace the rest of the targets, whatever the case is.
Yeah, so if there is going to be a calibration, they're generally going to... They might score the targets while waiting for the range master to come and do it, but they might not. So just wait see what the RO is going to do, and you definitely, you may as well just pretend like anyone who gets within 3 feet of that popper is going to get cancer, because
just stay away from it.
Just stay away from it. It's poison. You don't want anything to do with it.
The RO will walk up and look at it. He doesn't need your help.
Exactly. Another etiquette thing, though, if everybody on your squad, maybe it's a mini popper, everybody on your squad has been hitting, it's been falling all day, and then you just barely nick an edge on it and it doesn't go down, don't call for popper calibration in that situation. Some people will get real dirty with it because, if maybe the RO, the range master comes, and if he hits it, I believe, above the calibration zone.
Or below.
I think it's just above. Below.
Is it?
Yeah, below it'll still count if it goes down. If he hits it above the calibration zone, then that's an automatic reshoe. At that point, you're just trying to game the rules. If you know you didn't hit it well enough for it to go down and it's your fault, don't try and use the rules to your advantage to try and pull one over on somebody. It's just it might help you do better in that match if you win in that situation. If it ends up being if it ends up working to your advantage, maybe you'll end up with a better placement in that match. But the people on your squad won't forget you. And if you're someone who is trying to be really good and you're trying to, be somebody who's nationally competitive and nationally known, and maybe you're trying to get sponsorships and all that stuff, if you're that guy and you're going around, asking for doubles or asking for popper calibrations when you didn't hit it well enough to fall, and you maybe get those calls, people don't forget. We all know certain people who are like that.
Yep.
And we won't mention them by name, but
go ahead.
People don't forget.
Just briefly, if an example of when to call for calibration would be if maybe the range was really, it'd been raining, it was really soft or muddy, and you could tell after the popper's being shot a bunch, it's being moved, maybe one side is, higher or lower than the other side, just to explain. That would be a reason too.
And sometimes
or they work themselves loose because they've been getting shot a lot.
Sometimes the popper's just too heavy. I've seen at major matches where a popper was shot in the calibration zone. It was a full-size popper. It was shot in the calibration zone with a 9mm bullet. It didn't fall. And it was an activator popper that activated a swinger. So if that doesn't fall, that competitor is in really bad shape because they're going to get a whole bunch of penalties for the swinger, for failure to activate. I think it ends up being -40, -50 points. It's a ton. And then the range master came and did a calibration on it, and it fell when the range master shot it. So there is a term for this popularized by certain shooters that we will not use on this podcast because we choose not to swear on this podcast. But it's not a good situation. So
anyway, just don't be. There are times to call for calibration. Don't be afraid to call, but don't think that you need to call for calibration every time something doesn't fall, especially if you know it was not a good hit.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what else you got?
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to say on match etiquette? I think that pretty much wraps it up.
I don't. I think just like the little cheesy golden rule, just treat other people the way you'd want to be treated. So,
oh, that's adorable.
I don't know. Don't run other people over. Just be courteous. You're not the only one on the range.
All right. So we're going to transition into some questions. As we've kind of been doing this for longer, we're running out of topics that we can just talk about for an hour straight without any kind of breaks. So we have a listener question we want to address. that came in on Facebook. So if you guys have any questions you want to hear us address or topics, like I said, the match etiquette was a topic that was suggested. If you have any topics or questions you want to address, just hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Anything that says Shoot Fast Podcast on it, we'll probably see eventually and do it. Eventually, we might have to actually set up one place for you guys to go. But for now, just however you can reach us, just reach us. So here it is. Do you guys have any drills that you use for tracking what you're working on is getting better? Basically, for tracking that what you're working on is getting better. Would it be good to have a handful of drills in live fire that you track? Each covers a different skill, or would you lead to getting false results since you would be doing these drills a lot, say once or twice a month? So that person's sentence structure did not have enough punctuation in it. So basically what he's at, so my reading...
Oh, so he's the idiot because you don't know how to read it.
Yeah, I have a problem with reading.
Don't be passing the blame.
So what he's asking is, do you have certain drills that you run over and over again to track that things are going well? And does running those same drills over and over again, does that lead to false results? So what do you think? How do you handle this?
I do have specific drills that I like to run. Maybe not every time I go to the range, maybe not even every month, but I have a general idea of where I'm at, and that does help me measure progress, which when we were talking about getting, just burned out, that is something where it kind of feels like you're just grinding, that you're not really getting any better. And then you shoot a drill that you've been working on, and holy crap, I'm a half a second faster on that with better hits. This is a lot easier. This time used to seem really fast to me. I could barely hit this time on a good day, and now I'm doing better than that consistently, and I'm not putting forth as much effort. It feels easier to me. So definitely sticking with standard, a handful of drills that you like, I think is an awesome idea.
What are some drills that you use for that?
Well, I have a handful of drills I like because they each do something different. So for the longest time, Ben Steger's drill Accelerator was just my nemesis because I was awful at it. There was so much going on. So if you're not familiar, it's targets at 7, 15, and 25 yards. You're going to shoot each target twice, do a mag change, and shoot each target twice again. So you're going to go either close to far or far to close, depending on which way you prefer. And do it each way. Do it each way. So you're learning if you have a preference.
Yeah, you want to work it both ways.
Correct. Sorry, I should have worded that differently. But yes. So you're trying to develop a preference one way or the other. Another one I really like is distance changeup, which I do at... Ben does have a standard way that he sets that up, but at any rate, it's a very easy target on the left, a headshot or a very partial, a difficult target in the middle, and then off to the right, a closer target again. So you're working on changing gears. But draw real fast, ice this target, transition to a more difficult shot. I'm really watching the sights. Then I'm transitioning back hard, hammering a close target.
Now, do you have a certain standard way that you set this up again, or is that's just a drill that you just generally like?
I just generally like it. I shoot some variation of that about every time I practice in some form.
So how are you using that to measure your progress if you're not running it the same every time?
I typically keep making it harder as I feel like I'm getting good at it. So originally maybe it was a head box at 15 yards.
Yeah, so that's the standard setup is you have 2 open targets at 5 yards. I think 5 yards, 5 or 3. Really close.
I think it's 5.
Yeah, 5 yards. And then a head box at 15 yards. That's the way that's written in Skills and Drills, Ben's book. But you're saying you like to switch it up from there?
Yeah, so I could get that where, this isn't so bad. Well, if it's becoming easier for me, I'm not saying it's ever super easy, but if it's something that I don't feel like I'm pushing it at all, then yeah, I'll stretch the targets out. So I'm still working on the same skills, but I'm making it more difficult to be more challenged.
Will you stretch all the targets out or just the hard target?
Yes. It depends on the day, but normally I stretch everything out.
Okay. Yeah, and when I run that drill, one way that I like to do it is I will keep the targets close, because that's the point of the drill is, you have 2 targets that you're just hammering on that are really close, and then you have one that you have to really aim for. So same as Joel, I ran it the standard way, and maybe after an afternoon or whatever, 200 rounds, I'm shooting that drill, and I can't get it wrong. It's going really well. So I'll push that head box target out to 20 yards and keep the 2 close targets where they are. So that way it's still the same drill with having the really close stuff you're going to hammer on, but then you got to really aim and be really careful on that far one, and just kind of accentuates that.
Yeah.
What are some other drills you like to use to track your progress?
I really like 4 aces. It's maddening because...
Which is just 2 reload 2 from a holster.
Yes, 2 reload 2 from a holster.
Is there a particular distance you like to run it, or?
I like to run 7 yards.
Okay.
But I'll do it all the way out to 25 yards, which obviously your times are going to change based on that. But it's awesome because, especially if you're doing that 7-yard target, you want to get a really good grip on that. You want a fast draw. You want to You need to see. You're going to decide how much of your sights you need to see. Trigger control. You're going to tense up while you fire those 2 shots. You're going to relax. You're going to get a magazine change. Hopefully that goes well. Then you're going to tense up again, shoot 2 more shots. There's a lot of things that go on in that, let's say, 2.5 second drill, 2 second drill, depending on your skill level. So in that 2 to maybe 2.5 or 3 seconds, depending on your skill, that's a ton of stuff going on. And it's maddening because you could just do it over and over again and either feel good about yourself or get crushed.
So how often do you come back to these drills? Do you have a particular like schedule that you come back to them or anything? Or
I don't. I would say, depending on how much I practice, maybe once a month, once every other month. Distance change up, I shoot almost all the time. But the other ones, I don't shoot them every time I go to the range. But
so
it's nice revisiting them. Just I'll notice if I shoot something, if I'm working on a lot of partials or something with a lot of accuracy, then I go back to that distance change up. That starts to become easier for me because I feel like my skills overall are improving, which then encourages me to train harder because I can see that I'm getting better and I feel like it's working and then I'm encouraged to do more, and then it's just a chain reaction.
All right, so to simplify what you're saying a little bit, basically drills like Accelerator or build drills or 4 aces, you have certain ways you set those up pretty much every time you do them. You don't do them all the time, but when you do come back to them, you pretty much set them up the same way every time. So that way, do you have your times written down or anything? You just,
I don't.
You just remember,
I can remember
in a general sense.
Correct.
How you used to be able to do it then. And then distance change. So you're using those as more of like an objective measure of, I'm able to run it in these times with these kind of points, and you have a pretty good idea of what the math is, what the numbers look like on that. But on something like distance change up, you're using that more as like a subjective measure since you're changing it all the time, and you might not be able to compare the time straight across of like, well, last time it was a half an A zone at 20 yards and now it's a head box, and so you're changing the targets around so the numbers are going to be different, but are using that as kind of like a subjective measure.
Yeah, but I can still tell how things are going.
But,
absolutely.
But it's more of in a subjective sense than it is like the actual...
A pass or fail.
Yeah, than a pass or fail.
What drills do you like?
I like that. So... one drill in particular. So I have a handful of drills for sure. Most of mine are more accuracy focused for a few reasons. But so when I'll get into that, one that I really like is the dot drill. That is, again, I think Ben Steger refers to it as Frank Garcia's dot drill. And then I've heard that Frank Garcia wasn't the one who actually originated it. Somebody else did before.
Everyone's originated that, or
yeah,
no one claims for it,
so
but it's really good.
There's a few different variations like dot torture, but the one I'm talking about is where you have six 2-inch circles at 5 or 7 yards. I've done it at both. Lately, I think I usually try and run at 7 yards now. And the goal is you have 5 seconds per dot. So you draw, you have a 5-second part time set, and you have to shoot 6 shots in that 2-inch dot in that 5 seconds. And then you holster, reload if you need to, and then again, you choose the next dot on the sheet. You have 5 seconds on the part time. It beeps. You have to draw, shoot 6 shots in the second dot in that 5 seconds, and then go again. You keep going until you've done it 6 times for all 6 dots that are on that sheet of paper. So what I like about this drill is it's not just a drill that is trying to get you to be able to do something awesome one time. It's basically, the goal is to not screw it up once. So as I've gotten better at that drill, I mean, when I first started, you should definitely do it at 5 yards when you first start doing it, because if you try it at 7 yards, like, it'll crush your soul.
Or depending on your skill, even maybe a little bit closer.
Yeah,
to start
definitely.
out, just to try it, to see what it looks like.
Definitely, because it'll crush your soul. It's really hard, and if you're only getting like half your shots in the dots, then you're kind of losing the purpose of the drill. But so every single time, you're trying to do it over and over and over again, and if you can't do it 6 times in a row well, then you're going to screw up. I can't get all 36 out of 36. That's one of my goals for 2018, is to be able to do that at least once, just being able to get all 36 shots in the circles. But that is a very objective measure. That is one that I actually do have, like, on my notes on my phone. I do have like what my best runs on that are, and that's something that I can track over time. So I won't necessarily do practice that's focused on just that, because I think if you run the same drill over and over and over again, it might help you get better at that drill, but it's not necessarily going to make you a better shooter. So I tend to get burned out. Like, if I'm going to run one drill that many times, it's going to burn me out.
For sure.
Especially
one that's maddening.
Yeah, like that one. Because I've tried to run that one like 10 times in a row before, so 360 shots on that one drill. And by like the 8th one, I'm so zoned out and like burned out of getting my soul crush that it's not going well anymore. So I'll usually run that like 2 or 3 times in a row and then be done with it. And then I'll work on some other stuff in the same session.
If I could interject, I'd say 4 aces is the same way.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get any better at that drill that particular day. So if you sat down and shot 500 rounds doing 2 reload 2 at 4 aces, you could have probably accomplished that, a lot of that in dry fire anyway. So it's not productive just to do that over and over again.
Yeah. So I like to come back to a drill like that. I like to come back to it maybe once a month. If I'm training a lot, maybe once every few weeks. And I can see over time that, my accuracy is getting better than I'm progressing in these skills. And I can usually tell a noticeable difference in terms of, like, subjectively how it feels. Like, the sights are tracking really well for me, that sort of thing. And then, and then I have the objective measure of what my score is on the drill to be able to do it. Another one that's pretty much the same way and the same, like, the math works out almost the exact same way, is the Bianchi plate drill. So if you've never shot Bianchi Cup, because nobody's shot Bianchi Cup, and if you have shot, you probably don't listen to this podcast because there's like 10 people, and I think they're all 100 years old who shot that sport. But
we already made the HK people mad, and then we.
If you shoot Bianchi Cup, like, that's cool. But I don't know where you go. Like,
it's too late to recover. They already left. But whatever.
So it's actually a stage in the Bianchi Cup, and I learned this from listening to Shannon Smith talk on something that it's one of his favorite drills, and I like it too. So it's the same thing. There's different par times, different distances. If you're shooting at like a reasonable USPSA pace, you're always going to make the par times. So I don't really worry about the par times as much as just making sure that I make them.
What distances do you shoot at, or how do you set it up?
So you have a regular plate rack with 8-inch plates. Fortunately, I have access to a plate rack sometimes, and so when I do, it's a really good way to kind of burn through some ammo, get some good practice in without having to take forever to set up, because all you got to do is set up a plate rack. And you measure out, it's 4 distances, so it's at 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, and 25 yards. So from each distance, you shoot it twice. And every time you start with your wrist above your shoulders. So you start at 10 yards, wrist above shoulders, beep, you got to shoot all six targets.
With how many shots?
And it's essentially Virginia count. So you only get 6 shots for every single time the beep goes off. So if you're going across the plate rack and you miss one, unlike USPSA in a stage where you would, fire a makeup shot on it and shoot it until it goes down, you only fire those 6 shots. So it is soul crushing. Like, if you at 10 yards, which is a really close distance, and you feel like you should be able to burn through them, they're all going to go down the first shot. If you miss one at that 10 yards, it will make you hate yourself, which is why I like it. So that's a good one. And then at the end, I basically tally up how many I dropped or how many I shot down. And I think right now my best run is maybe 44 or 45 of the 48 plates, because there's 48 potential plates for 6 times 8. And usually I start dropping them, once you get 20 and 25 yards. It gets a lot more difficult.
And the pressure builds as you go on. That's a really good drill to do a lot of things.
Yeah. So you're working on all kinds of stuff. But that's a good one where, I won't practice very well, or I'll practice other stuff. And there's crossover between both those drills I just said, where, you're building pressure as you go along, and they're very accuracy focused, but you can't go slow either. It's basically all about practicing your accuracy at speed. So since that has been something that I've really been focusing on for a while now, those are drills that I really like. Another drill that I've always been a big fan of, and I still come back to sometimes, is El Presidente, just your regular old El Presidente classifier. When I first started practicing to get good at shooting, like, that was the only drill that I did, because I'm like, if I get awesome at El Presidente, it's got everything I need to be good at USPSA. Like, there's a turning draw, you're shooting 3 targets, you're reloading, you're shooting 3 targets, and it'll be great. And it is a good drill, but if you only run it and only trying to get good at that, you're not going to be very good at USPSA, because there's a lot more stuff going on than just an El Presidente at a USPSA match. But I do like to go back to it every once in a while, especially now. That's not necessarily a skill that I practice all the time. If I haven't practiced my classifier skills in a while and I go back and try El Presidente and live fire, sometimes it doesn't go well. And then I realize, okay, I need to work on this stuff, because I can't let these skills go away, because I'm still going to need them in matches sometimes. Or sometimes I go out and maybe I haven't practiced it in a bit, but I've been practicing other similar stuff. Like, I'm still working on my draws, still working on my reloads, still working on shooting fast all the time. And I go out and I run it better than I've ever ran it, because I'm just getting better at these things without directly practicing that drill. So that makes me really happy when that happens, and that has happened before. So that's another drill that I like to come back to from time to time. and I think there's a lot of value in that. But I think we both can agree that I don't like setting like a schedule where I'm going to do the same drill once a month or something like that. And I think the guy who asked the question was smart in the way that he asked it, which is that he's saying if you just run the same drill all the time, you might get really good at that drill, but not necessarily get better at shooting. And I think there's definitely a potential of that happening. What do you think?
Yeah, I look at the skills that those drills give you. So, accelerator, you've got transitions, you got a draw, you have a mag change. There's a ton going on with that. Distance change up, changing gears. Bill drill was another one I didn't talk about that I really like also. And I don't just like bill drill at close, like that at maybe 20, 25 yards. Because you're learning, a specific, that drill is teaching you something specific. So it's like having leg day every day kind of a deal, or chest day every day. You're dividing up and you're working on each one of those skills separately. I like it.
Yeah, but I think that there is a scenario where you could get really good at like accelerator because you set up the exact same way every single time.
For sure.
And you can't translate that skill to a match very well because all you've done is work on accelerator. And you've gotten really good.
You've memorized the timing.
Yeah, you memorize how your gun feels on each target. You memorize like what the transitions feel like, and you memorize exactly what that drill is, but you haven't really expanded out and made your skills better. So I like using those things as a way of coming back and testing how my other training has affected those drills. So I don't necessarily shoot like that Ben Steger or the Frank Garcia dot drill. I don't necessarily shoot that drill to get better at that drill. I use that drill to test my ability to shoot really accurate shots within a relatively tight time frame because I'm always working on that skill. So by coming back to that every once in a while, I can see, is my training making me better at this? And the goal is eventually that my training will make me good enough where I can clear it, and also keep coming back to it to make sure that I can keep clearing it and keep progressing and getting better. Would you agree that's kind of the right way to use those?
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. Make sure you guys subscribe to us. We have social media now. Make sure you follow us on social media, all that stuff. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.